Welcome to the part 2 of AITA, for refusing to adopt my Nibblings knowing that it would make them feel rejected. A few weeks later, she orchestrated a setup during a luncheon with my aunt. We were sitting outside at a cafe when I saw my mother and the kids approaching from a distance. I instantly realized what was happening. She had planned to ambush me with the kids, hoping to guilt-trip me in public, where I would be too embarrassed to refuse them. Fortunately, I saw them in time, and without thinking, I got the heck out of there. I didn't even stop to explain myself. I just bolted with an "oh shit" look on my face, leaving my aunt sitting there in confusion. It was a narrow escape. The damage had already been done. The kids, who were already struggling with their mother's death and their grandmother's illness, had now been led to believe that I was going to be their savior, only to have that hope ripped away from them. They've regressed into a downward spiral, acting out in ways that are heartbreaking to witness, and many in the family are blaming me for it. They say I made the kids feel unwanted, that I should have just said yes to avoid breaking their hearts. And even the more sympathetic ones think that I could have handled it better. I'm being hounded by relatives on all sides, bombarded with messages and phone calls, all trying to convince me to change my mind. They accuse me of abandoning my family, being cold and unfeeling, prioritizing my own comfort over the well-being of two innocent children who have already been through so much. But as much as I hate to see the pain in those kids' eyes, I know I'm not responsible for this situation. I didn't create this mess. Yes, maybe my borderline panicked exit during the luncheon helped the kids connect the dots, but it was never my responsibility to cover for my mother's lies. She set those kids up for heartbreak, knowing full well that I had already rejected them and would never agree to be their guardian. She put them in a position where they were bound to be hurt, and now I'm the one being blamed for it. The whole situation is a nightmare. I feel like I'm being punished for not wanting to sacrifice my life for a role I never asked for and don't want. It's not that I don't care about Amy and Tim. I do. But caring for them doesn't mean that I'm equipped or willing to take on the enormous responsibility of raising them. Caring about them doesn't change the fact that I have never wanted children. And I know that forcing myself into a parental role would be disastrous for all of us. Pressure from my family is relentless. I can't escape the constant accusations and guilt trip. My phone never stops buzzing with messages from relatives who think they know what's best for me. Kids, everyone. They all have their opinions, their judgments, their expectations, but none of them seem to understand or care what this would mean for me. They see me as the solution to a problem, convenient way to keep the family together, to ensure that Sasha's kids are taken care of, but they don't see the toll it would take on me. Resentment that would inevitably build. Toxic environment that would likely result from me being forced into a role I'm fundamentally unsuited for. I've tried to explain my position, to make them see that it's better for everyone. I don't take on this responsibility. I've told them about my fears, about how I know myself well enough to recognize that I would be abusive. Not because I want to be, but because I simply don't have the capacity to be a good parent. I've tried to make them understand that my refusal isn't about being selfish or uncaring. It's about protecting those kids from a situation that would only cause them more harm in the long run. But my words fall on deaf ears. They only see what they want to see. Heartless man who's abandoning his family in their time of need. My mother's actions have only made things worse. By feeding the kids those lies, giving them false hope, she's created a situation that's even more painful and complicated than it needed to be. I understand that she's desperate, that she's scared for the future, that she doesn't want to leave this world knowing that her grandchildren have no one to take. But in her desperation, she's made choices that have only deepened the trauma for everyone involved. And what about the kids? They're caught in the middle of all this. Innocent victims of circumstances beyond their control. They've already lost their mother in the most horrific way possible. Now they're facing the prospect of losing their grandmother too. They've been through more pain and heartache in their young lives than most people experience in a lifetime. And now on top of all that, they've been led to believe that the one person who could save them, to give them a stable, loving home, doesn't want them. Heartbreaking. And it's not fair. I think about them all the time. I wonder how they're coping, how they're processing everything that's happened. I wonder if they hate me, if they see me as the villain in their story, the one who turned his back on them when they needed him the most. I wonder if they're blaming themselves, if they're internalizing all of this and feeling like they're somehow unworthy of love and care. And it tears me apart, because I don't want them to feel that way. But at the same time, I know that stepping into their lives now, out of guilt or pressure, only make things worse. I've thought about the possibility of some kind of compromise, finding a way to be involved in their lives without taking on full guardianship. Maybe I could help financially, or be there for them in some other capacity. But every time I consider it, I come back to the same conclusion. It wouldn't be enough. These kids don't just need someone who's willing to throw money at them or show up occasionally. They need a full-time parent, someone who's completely committed to raising them, to helping them heal, providing the love and stability they've been so cruelly deprived of. And I'm not that person. I never will be. Here I am, stuck in this impossible situation, with no good options and no clear path forward. I've been avoiding family gatherings, avoiding phone calls, avoiding anything that might bring me face to face with the people who want to force me into a role I don't want. I've distanced myself from my mother, which breaks my heart because she's dying, and I don't want our last days together to be filled with conflict and resentment. But I don't see any other way. Every conversation with her turns into an argument. Every interaction is fraught with tension. She doesn't understand why I can't just do what she wants. Why I can't just step up and be the person she believes I should be. And I don't know how to make her see that it's not about her, or the kids, or even Sasha. It's about me, and what I know in my heart I'm capable of. Or rather, what I'm not capable of. I'm trying to live my life as best as I can under these circumstances. But it's hard. There's a constant weight on my shoulders. A nagging feeling of guilt and responsibility that I can't shake, no matter how much I try to convince myself that I'm doing the right thing. I see the looks I get from people who know about the situation. The judgment, disapproval, disappointment. It's as if they think I'm some kind of monster for not stepping in to take care of these kids. And maybe they're right. Maybe I am a monster for refusing to do what everyone else thinks is the right thing. But I also know that forcing myself into a role that I don't want and can't handle would be even worse. It would destroy me, and it would destroy those kids. They deserve better than that. They deserve someone who wants to be there for them, who's capable of giving them the love and support they need. And that's not me. As I sit here writing this out, I can't help but wonder what the future holds. What will happen to Amy and Tim? Who will step up to take care of them when my mother is gone? Will they ever find the stability and love they need? And what about me? Will I ever be able to forgive myself for not being the person they needed me to be? Or will I always carry this weight, this guilt, this feeling of having failed my family in the most fundamental way? I don't have the answers to these questions. All I know is that I'm doing what I believe is right, even if it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And I just hope, someday, the people who are judging me now understand that I didn't make this decision lightly. I made it because I love those kids enough to know that they deserve better than what I can give them. And that's the truth, no matter how much it hurts to admit it. Reddit? Am I the asshole? Relevant comments, Breliwi. Yeah, I feel so bad for the kids. Sticking them with someone who clearly doesn't want kids and would resent their presence will not make their situation better. I'm not blaming OP. They know themselves and their wants/capabilities. But the people trying to convince him to take them and feeding the kids that bullshit are making things far worse. NTA, and God, I hope they find a good home with someone who will cherish them. Joas. Why don't any of the family members hounding you take them in? NTA, it's your life, and you're under no obligation to take in someone else's kids when you've already said you don't think you'd be a good fit. Kids need to be somewhere they're cherished and taken care of after such a tumultuous life. What your mother is doing is cruel to everyone involved, desperation or not. He needs to find another family member. Good luck, Head Razmataz 714 NTA. This is the same logic of people who have kids use on anyone who is child-free. Especially women. Oh, you'll feel different once you have them. No is a complete sentence. You don't want kids, and no, you will probably not be a good. The simple fact that you were VLC contact, because your sister tried to force the relationship, speaks volumes. Those children have been through a lot of trauma already. No matter where they end up, whether or not it is with someone in your sister's family, they are going to need a lot of therapy. And it does not sound like that is something you would be either willing or capable of dealing with. I am sorry for your loss and feel badly for the kids. They need to be in a stable home with someone who actually wants them. Those who tell you to step up, need to be the ones to do it. It takes a very strong person to admit that they would be a bad parent. Not many people have the courage to admit that to themselves, much less anyone else. But it takes a different kind of strength to be a parent. Big LT, NTA. You made it super clear up front. You would not be a suitable home for the kids. Will have a shitload of problems needing therapy. Your mother trying to bait and switch is terrible, and you need to speak to her directly. The rest, F your family crying from the rooftops, tell them to adopt the kid.